right, welcome to Raising Funds for World Domination, day number 232. And once again, you can't see the title because they changed the UI. I guess I'll have to add maybe one of the next things on the to-do list to figure out a better UI. What I had before was good enough, but I think it's I don't even know what approach to use. There's got to be some stuff that you put in OBS or something that pulls the YouTube API to like display all this stuff nicely. I'll have to look into it. I guess Streamlabs I think can do some of that stuff, but there's all kinds of pricing plans and stuff. Like if you want to do it professionally, you have to pay money, and it's expensive. Okay, today there's actually one update. Yeah, and on the other items, there's still no updates. My merchant store is still permanently disabled until I take on the task of finding a Google insider and convincing someone who works at Google to undisable my merchant center. There's no recent sales in the Shopify store. And there is no updates on the eviction situation. So I was anticipating that I'd hear from I'd get a case number about the appeal or something, but still waiting on that. Orsoplex 64, how's it going? PC Steve, hey man, happy Friday. That's right, it is Friday. And it's almost Christmas too. Man, the older you get, the more time flies. It's it's crazy. It gets faster and faster. Things go by so fast, I don't even have time to stop and enjoy them. All right, so today we will continue with, I guess the other update is today I also continued working on more recording and editing. Everything is about churning out more videos. All right, let's make sure this is not broken. With trying to adapt the game to support multiplayer and also to make some of the other new stuff work with the making player movement work and fixing race conditions where like you accidentally mine the player block out itself, and having like an actual client-server transaction model, that's going to be a whole bunch of work. I was thinking about it, and basically one of the core first things I have to do is in the init method for the client. Right now, it's initializing a few different classes that are going to need to be moved out of here. So they're going to have to be initiated once, and they're going to have to still be able to run for the case where there's no client. So that's going to mean that for the in-memory chunks, currently it has a dependency on this class. I need to work it so there's no dependency on that. Or if there is, it'll this thread will be something like the client threads can like subscribe to it, and it'll have like an internal list of clients that it sends the chunks back to or whatever. Same thing as the initializer. Standard input reader task. So last night I removed the dependency on the client, although now this depends on console writer thread, which still depends on one of these. So I think tonight I'll work on just trying to remove this dependency here. And I thought about it, and this here is a function that's used in a lot of places, and I think it should not be here. This should actually be in the console writer thread. Bufan Manjunta says hi again. How's it going? Midgoo 4780 sends a wave. How's it going? What's the warning you got there on YT? Oh, it's done that ever since I started streaming. It's never been an issue. It'll say the stream's current bitrate is like lower than something or other. I don't know if it's if I change the resolution settings or something, maybe it'll go away. I'm not sure. It's never. I've never had anyone complain about like frame rates or anything. going to make more content, like how I became dangerous. I would like to make more shorts and stuff like that. I have tons of ideas for content. The problem is it just takes too much time, and like mathematically, I cannot mathematically make it work financially. I guess a lot of my videos have been experiments to see, like, does this type of content do well? Does it get growth? How much money does it make? How much like traffic does it generate? How much do people like it? People seem to like those videos more, but I think I maybe spent, I think I was working on, like, I had another project on the go at the time, and I was like, during the daytime I was spending like a few hours per day for maybe 2 weeks or something. So like it was like a couple weeks. Actually, I think I might have filmed all of the scenes over the course of maybe like 3 weeks or something. But it wasn't working like all day every day. It was just, maybe like 4 hours to go out and film a scene and stuff. I mean, there's also, I'm also competing with AI now, because like even after that, like, that's a real video. I still get comments on that. People are like, is this AI? But it's like to physically go out to that park and to film that scene. Like the scene of me walking by the water, where I'm kind of walking toward the camera, like by the bank of where the water was. I got there, I set up my camera, and then these like stupid people in the park, this like boyfriend, girlfriend, came right into where I'd filmed the first scene, and then I went back to like check the camera and check the exposure and stuff. And then this couple came in there, and they're like taking photos and stuff. I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll give them like in a minute or something. They'll take their photo, and then they'll be done. And then I'm like, I'm just waiting for them. And then the girl, of course, wants like 5,000. Wants her boyfriend to take 5,000 pictures, and then she comes back, and they're standing there looking at all the photos, and like, okay, let's take more. And I stood there for like 15 minutes waiting for them to leave so I could actually film, because I only did one take of it, and I'll usually do like 3 or 4 just to try and, because it doesn't always turn out when I look at it on the monitor, and I can just get a couple of different ones to take the best one. So yeah, that's what I'm competing with. AI slop that gets millions of views versus manually filmed stuff. So that video is like, was it have like 20,000 views or something? I probably made like, less than $10 on that video. So the revenue is basically zero. But it's clear that people like that content. But in a way, it's like it's almost like creating a music video. And even for there's a lot of actual songs out there that just don't even have music videos, because it's a lot of work to make them, and the editing and stuff. And even the upload process, they make that really hard. If you want to put a song in it, what I have to do is I have to like make the video, render it, and then I mute the sound, and then transfer it manually to my phone, and then I have to upload it from my phone, and then I have to select from the music library, and I have to specifically like align the track and stuff manually. Oh yeah, and I had to originally I picked the song, and I didn't really know how the content ID thing worked, so I just uploaded it, and it like immediately got a content ID violation. So then I had to like find the version in the music library that I could attach to it, and the actual like the one that won't get you a copyright strike is sped up at exactly 10%. So I had to go into the music library and figure out what the speed up percent was on the track, because I had actually edited it to the original pacing, but it was the only one that I can use. The only song I can use is the 10% sped up version, so I had to like re-render the whole video with the 10% speed up, just so I wouldn't. Otherwise, I'd have to mute it, and then the whole video concept doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense if there's no music. So yeah, I'd like to do more, but the resources required are significant. Sounds truly Kafkaesque. Yeah, it is. I guess the process of that was the first time I ever did a video where I actually used music in it. So if I did that more often, then it would get easier. I could just do like dance videos or something. Actually, I wonder. I don't know. YouTube seems to favor like low effort content. Maybe I should like do dancing videos or something. Just pick like random popular songs and then start dancing to them. Upload like 50 of those every day. Try dancing in your next favorite Linux command video. Yeah, that'd be that would be an amusing twist. I could, because it's only the shorts videos that you can use content ID stuff from their library. So I could continue the next series that way. And the next one of that series. I'd like to get back to that series, but I look back at some of those videos, and they're at least like a day or two to make each one of those, and a few of them only have like they've only made like $1 in revenue all time. That's just mathematically I can't spend a couple of days of work to make $1. They produced some growth. I kind of hoped that once they were out there, they would kind of maybe the growth would continue. I don't know. It's weird. It seems overall on the channel, YouTube seems to pick like the top 10% of your videos will kind of like grow forever in views as like a slow exponential, and then the bottom 90% will just kind of trend toward no views. Working on a terminal block mining game? Yes, recently I've been, the latest thing I've been working on is some significant deep refactoring to maybe make progress toward multiplayer. There's a few kind of significant architectural changes I need to do first. All right, that's good. That seems to work. What is the temperature? Temperature is 1. Thank you for asking. Let me think. So the next thing is to remove this. So I guess that's only referenced by the frames. So I think maybe the next step will be so these functions I think are going to have to be called externally. So I'll have to like instantiate the console writer thread. I guess I could probably just copy and paste this out. I cannot call this function from here because it will block. It will deadlock. Okay, so the goal is to remove references to client block model context in the console writer thread state. And to do that, I'm going to need to move out the initialization of frames so I can pass in a client. But for some frames, like the help menu, I want the help menu to still work when there's no connections to anything. And conceptually, you don't need to be connected to anything for the help menu to work. So it should not be dependent on client block model context. But it is because of it's sending messages. Right here to when the terminal changes. And the key problem is this, which depends on the width of a character. Let's take that method out of that. Let's add it in here. That might slow things down a lot, but we'll just get it working first. All right, what does this do? Already defined. Oh, I already have one of that in here. So I think this will be the main problem with getting that character width, because inside these splits, if I try to I don't have any reference to something to actually measure it. I need at least one client. Or I need to at least be in a different thread. If I try to measure it from the console writer thread, it will deadlock. I guess I could just do this for now. Oh, actually, yes, I deleted that. All right, that still runs. That's a bit of progress, I guess. Okay, the reason I did that was because I wanted to remove this. All right, so now that's not needed. Okay, one step closer. The next event, I guess, what I'll work on tomorrow is moving this into the console writer thread. And then that will resolve this dependency issue. So that's fine, that's fine. That's fine, that's fine. That's fine. And that. Yeah, so once that is moved, then I can delete this parameter, or more accurately replace it with the console writer, the right state. And that will remove the dependency on this. What is the job of an algorithms engineer like? Do they need to invent new algorithms every day? Or is that too unrealistic? I think like if you're talking about in industry, I would say in terms of like actual jobs, there's probably almost no one who is like, an algorithms engineer whose job is to like get up and just invent new algorithms every day. In like the commercial sector, the closest thing to like someone who just gets up and invents new algorithms every single day would basically be like an academic. So someone who you go to undergrad, you do all the algorithms courses, graduate, then you do a grad program, you start teaching some courses, then maybe do like a PhD, and you start, I think a lot of PhDs, stuff that interacts with research, so companies, governments come to you and maybe sponsor some of your projects if they're interesting. Now in industry, like the kind of closest thing in industry is like when I worked at Amazon, for example. If you work at one of those big companies, you will have to think about. Very likely, you have to take like an algorithm you learned in school, like a fairly simple algorithm. You have to adapt it to your specific scenario. So usually, I think the actual algorithm is a bit. When you study it in an algorithms course, it's very kind of simple and pure. But then when you actually write something in the real world, it's attached to all this other junk. So I remember, people say that the questions you get on interview questions are useless. Like interview algorithms questions are useless. But there was one interview question that I actually got a couple times about finding cycles in a linked list. And the way to do it is fast pointer, slow pointer. And I remember when I was at Amazon, there was a task I needed to do for detecting potential cycles in an upgrade path. And I remember I used that, I implemented that, but it wasn't really, it wasn't very nice. Like it was a very, I just looked up like the reference implementation of it. It was called like Floyd's cycle finding algorithm or something. And I kind of adapted it to work within the context of our code. How about R&D? I'm thinking about it as a field, but I'm afraid it might have to be cracked to even step foot. Yeah, I mean, it would. I guess it really depends what you mean by R&D, because like for some companies, what they would consider like, R&D, like, because if you're talking about like inventing new algorithms, that's almost like when you're younger, you have kind of this like a very romanticized like idea of like, I'm going to be like a Renaissance man and I'm going to do math and invent new algorithms and get something named after me and stuff. But then in the real world, you end up like reinventing, like you end up taking like the simplest solution. Like I say, a real world R&D thing, I think would be something like maybe you could hire to in research and development to do like networking software for some embedded system, and then so they want you to do faster sorting. So you've got packets or something, or some new like firewall or something, or AI powered cyber or security thing or something. And so then your task is to take a constrained embedded system and run merge sort, like in place merge sort or something, on this embedded system. And your job is to make it as fast as possible. But because there's like, you're working within like real world constraints, so you have to think about the caching and stuff, and like the cache. You got to think about like how you sort the thing in such a way that can do it as fast as possible. So you have you're using as small of a cache footprint as possible. Like those kinds of the constraints in an algorithms course. The constraints are like kind of beautiful and mathematical, but in the real world they'll be like, okay, we could simplify this dramatically, but we want to save 30 cents on this chip. So instead of giving you 1 gig of memory, you have 1 meg of memory. And now you have to do all this sorting. You're going to jump through all these hoops and invent all these algorithms and stuff to like do it in a much smaller footprint and save on costs. And it won't be like, you won't invent, you'll probably never get famous, or it'll be some like irrelevant algorithm that'll eventually be deleted once they eventually upgrade their hardware to something else. Sentient NPC 42. Good news for my cousin. My uncle died of sleep apnea. Sudden death during sleep 1 year ago. Want to spread awareness how dangerous it is. You have close loved ones. That's rough. Yeah, mortality is rough. You can just die randomly from various causes. You can be walking down the street and then trip and hit your head. And then it's all over. Yeah, I hope I answered your question. Yeah, R&D can be a lot of different stuff. I'd say like if you're really interested in might have to be cracked to even step foot. I mean, it sounds like I don't know. You're in the mindset of like you gotta memorize every algorithm and all the notations and stuff. Some of that is like, I don't want to say it's not relevant, but it's also part of the machine. Part of the machine of like building students to become good employees is to like beat them down mentally and make them constantly think that they're inferior. Because if you think that way, then you'll study lead code and memorize like 5,000 lead code problems, and you'll be like in this high state of anxiety, and be like, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not going to get a job. And then the best people out there will obsess over that and like learn a lot of stuff. And it's like, it's just a manipulation tactic to squeeze as much out of whatever part of the population is vulnerable enough to fall for that. But in reality, a lot of the companies that will hire you, the people that will hire you, are like total morons, and they won't. Like you might study all this advanced stuff, and then spend a long time trying to get a job, and then the person that hires you is like doesn't know very, very basic stuff. But if they just they got some government grant or something, and then that's where the money comes from. So that may be how it works. Kind of how I am. Didn't get the CS degree. I feel like I have to be twice as cracked just to get considered. Yeah, I mean, if you like, being better certainly will help you, but also, like even if you're bad, like one story I keep telling is I remember when I was doing co-ops, there was a guy in my class was a couple of people I knew. A friend of mine got a job at this company, and he got a job at the same time as this other person I knew in my class. And I remember it was kind of fun. It was, afterward, we were like, I wonder why they picked you and this other guy. And then later, I guess it came out that apparently this other person I knew, who actually failed it in my program eventually, he got hired at the company because they confused the best candidate. There was a miscommunication after the interview that like the three founders were talking, and they were like, hey, wow, like that candidate number 2, that was like, wow, that was something else, wasn't it? And then the other person was like, yeah, that guy, that guy really was something. And so there was like some conversation that was like vague language like that, and they confused the worst candidate with the best candidate, and then they hired him by accident because they just been like, wow, this guy really stands out in a bad way. Like, this guy's so terrible, or he's so like eccentric or weird. And so that's, but I mean, the outcome was he got hired. And so no matter how bad you are or how weird you are, if you just keep applying for enough places, there'll be some weird thing will happen, like something will fall through the cracks, and you'll get accidentally hired. I mean, companies. Think about this: companies are now accidentally hiring North Korean spies, and like some of them are not even that great. Like they'll be like, oh, can you turn your camera on? They're like, oh, my camera is broke. Or they'll ask them questions, and because they're from North Korea, they don't like have access to the outside world, so they like answer it in a really weird way. So as long as you're not a North Korean spy, you should be able to beat North Korean spies. But yeah, with that, I will probably call it another successful stream. Yeah, I'm not sure how long it'll take to refactor this. There's just so many. It's kind of our big rat's nest of things to untangle. This is a design feature I hadn't really been thinking around it, but yeah, I'll just keep grinding away every day. Anyway, have a good night, guys. We'll be back tomorrow night for day 232, I think. Later.